Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 10 Minute Marvel. Yes, we are back after the holiday weekend where one of us decided to go to the lake cabin because you gotta get it in while you can in Minnesota.
That is right. There's no that's just what you got to do. Like you have it like
Yes.
6 or 7 weeks, and then you're right into fall. I don't know. So
Yep. So we are just catching up on the news today. Consider me Dan Rather. I'm Petter. And co-host, my co-anchor.
co-anchoring Petter Pascal, I was going to call you instead of Dan Rather. It's Gregory Storm, everybody. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Thanks for coming back. It's good to come back. It's good to be back. And Petter, there's a frightening amount of news and rumors that we have to go through
Yes.
today. We're gonna have to be
Yes.
thorough. We're gonna have to
Hmm.
be on point. And
No.
no,
Yeah.
good. I
No.
was really
Yeah.
hoping you would boot that one out because you know me,
Yeah.
I'm not on
Yeah.
point. Not at this time of night on a Sunday. Are you kidding? So let's
Yes.
uh let's let's start this party.
All right. Do you have something you want to say first?
Yeah, I do. But let me put my drink down. Just brushing off the cobwebs and
1 week off, all just falls apart.
I highly suggest we don't do this again. Okay. If you're looking for ways to support us here at 10 Minute Marvel, you can find us on our YouTube channel. Search 10 Minute Marvel, of course. Give us a like and thumb smash that subscribe button. Find and follow us on Facebook and that other thing that's called X, hashtag 10 Minute Marvel there, everyone. And of course, you can leave a rating and review wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcast from.
Yes.
All right, and now the weather.
Yes. So, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. And now on to the rest of the news.
There we go.
First off, this is kind of just I put everything into categories by project for the most part to try and make my life easier doing this with the news. Once we get into that, I'm going to just say everything for a project and then we'll talk about it as a whole. However, there's some just general Marvel stuff to talk about, like Captain America Brave New World is now streaming. Have you
Watched it
watched it?
last night.
Nice. I have not watched it again yet.
I watched it with my son. He's 13. He liked it, actually.
Nice. Yeah.
And the second watch for me was I was pretty exhausted actually. But it was okay. It wasn't it didn't
It's
like my second time around didn't really oh yeah, that was actually pretty good.
it falls
Uh,
like we've said so many times. It falls into the category of a fun superhero movie. It's
right.
not groundbreaking, but it's not Secret Invasion.
Right. It was I can't I think when I watched Black Widow for a second time and I was like,
Hmm.
you know what? I kind of like that was actually pretty much better than what I thought, than my
Hmm.
first go around. And it didn't quite feel the same as that. But again, I was a little
Yeah.
tired. I was actually falling asleep. But that's so just to gauge where I was at, everybody. Anyways, what else we got?
Um, Marvel is not going to have a big Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con.
Are they just not into having fun anymore? What's going on?
I think this ties into probably what we'll get to talk about down here in a little bit with Doomsday and Secret Wars.
They
It
don't want to have
just
to answer for what they've done. Is that what we're getting
no,
at?
nope. Uh,
We'll get there.
I think it's more of a there's not going to be much. Marvel's going to have a presence there, but it's probably going to be a panel like they did with Deadpool and Wolverine. They'll do a Fantastic Four panel, and people will show up and watch the Fantastic Four sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then, also tying into that Doomsday and Secret Wars news, there's a rumor that Bob Iger is not happy about what Marvel's theatrical slate looks like for 2026. I actually did a video on this one, being like, okay, what can Marvel even do about that?
And why does I mean I get he's kind of writing some paychecks and
Yeah.
everything, but
I mean, it's less, I
since
think, the writing the paychecks, more the looking at the how much Disney is going to take in.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just when have they I want to say when have they actually cared about what
Yeah.
his but when has he cared about that?
Yeah.
I don't know. whatever.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's maybe not just trying to the Marvel stuff, but I think just Disney stuff in general might be causing some commotion. So, I
Yeah.
mean, as far as like how much stuff content is coming out in the Disney platform, so
Yeah. Yeah. I
maybe
think that I could see that being the case overall because I'm not sure. I think the Mandalorian movie comes out next year, but beyond that, I'm not sure what big things Disney has.
that's Starfighter. Is that one? No, that's
No.
different. That's something else. That's
Yeah.
the Ryan
No.
Gosling one.
The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh,
That one, just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the, so that's going to do well in theaters for them. But I also do think that that will do less well than a more generic Star Wars thing would, just because you'll have to have done some homework first for it, that
Like
sort of
me.
thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's probably more of a, oh, this overall is looking sparser than he was probably hoping for 2026.
Yeah.
Um, but completely different now. Joe
Enough about
Locke.
Bob. Enough about
Yeah.
Bob.
Now we're going to talk about Joe. Joe
Yes.
Locke says that he signed a multi-year slash project deal with Marvel.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we got Wiccan.
Yep.
Now, where is he going to be peppered in?
Vision show
Yep.
and Doomsday or whenever they do the Champions.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't see anywhere else he could fall into place. So
hmm Maybe if they do a Scarlet Witch movie after Secret Wars.
yeah, is that gonna happen? Like
I
that is
don't.
that is one of those things like they've really played pretty coy about. Like I just don't
hmm
know which way they would take it. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say I think they've played really coy about everything post that one Comic-Con where they like laid out stuff for all the phases.
yeah, oh yeah,
The Bob Chapek year. I
yeah,
think Kevin Feige is just like, oh, if I don't have to do that anymore, I'm not announcing anything until I'm ready to
yeah,
announce it.
yeah. They face planted pretty hard on that one.
Yes,
So
it makes sense.
it does.
And that's how Kevin Feige was doing it prior to Bob Chapek
Hmm.
taking over. So,
Are you wanting a Scarlet Witch movie show?
I think if you're gonna do it, it should be a movie and something kind of big to bring her back.
Yeah. I
Like, honestly, do it like they're doing with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Be like, all right, we have the Vision show, we have Agatha all along, and we have WandaVision, and I guess there's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness thrown into there as well. But now we're gonna do a movie to cap off those three shows.
Yeah, I kind of want this like slow step in for it, right? We had Agatha pretty much kind of saying that she's dead, right? But that was all kind of in
Yep.
a unreal or I don't want to say dream, but it was it wasn't necessarily real that we
hmm
know. But then you get Vision, whatever that show's gonna be called, Vision Quest. I'd like to have them hint a little bit more at it and maybe
hmm
give us some like, hey, there's a possibility she's around, or like
hmm
just hinted her. And then something else, like in Doctor Strange, we get
hmm
maybe an appearance at that point, or some more confirmation. And
Yeah.
then we get into the big movie for her.
Yes. Yeah. Even like if you do Ironheart, you hint at Mephisto or something like that.
Oh, that would be good. I would love that.
And then in, yeah, Doctor Strange 3, you have like a direct reference of Mephisto or somebody like saying, yeah, she's in hell or
Yeah.
she's in a realm of brimstone, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
if you don't want to say hell. So, and then that just launches us into a Scarlet Witch movie where you have a team of characters who are looking to break her out.
Hmm. I just in Doctor Strange 3 maybe have like she's a there's a figment, there's something I think we kind of talked about this maybe when Agatha was playing like or when that was show
hmm
was going. She's in the background, you can't make her out, but you see some figure in the distance
You see,
chained
yeah,
or
the red
somehow.
crown sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Um, Next one up is Danny and Michael Philippou had a general meeting with Marvel about potential projects. They are the directors of Bring Her Back. So I'm assuming
Uh,
you're very familiar with Bring Her Back.
I can't tell whether that's like a teen movie or a horror movie.
I believe a brother and sister uncover a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. So
Okay,
yes,
teen movie.
yeah, both.
Oh, okay. Got it. Teen horror movie.
Mhm. I
Okay.
think it's out in theaters now. It's 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh wow. And wait, what are these two doing?
They
These
directed that, and they had kind of a general meeting with Marvel about potential projects.
hmm.
Blade,
So
Blade
I
and
was
Midnight Suns.
that's
Yeah.
maybe I mean if depends on what their strong suit is. Is it writing to more of the teen and so you go champions, or is it
Uh,
writing towards more horror and
well,
gore?
let me look at if they even have what they even have under their belt beyond that, because I'm not
Ghost
sh
Rider.
so they did a film, Talk to Me, which I'm guessing, yeah, horror again. But they haven't done a ton. Basically, five projects, and I would say arguably three actual projects.
Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna say Midnight Suns or Ghost Rider special presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Then Nova, again, rumor comes from Cosmic Circus, uh, to have a major role in the MCU in this next chapter, similar to Loki's.
I've been this whole Nova thing, I can't like it comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's got to be happening.
Hmm.
It's come back around too many times. So, and it seems like there was something wanted to do with Nova in the larger grand scheme of things, right? What
Hmm.
where was his place?
I don't know that we've, yeah, officially heard a ton, but this makes me wonder if post Secret Wars we're gonna have kind of different threads of the MCU you can follow. So like you might have a Cosmic Nova, um, and other projects that kind of all tie together. You might have your X-Men path, and you might have your more traditional Avengers path. And as they put out movies, it's going to kind of bounce around between those, but you don't, if you're just like, I just want to watch X-Men, with the exception of like the big events,
Right.
you can watch X-Men.
I think my first thought with that is if you bounce around too much and there's too much time in between, you're going to lose the audience,
Yeah, I
right?
think
So
you
if
would
you only have an X-Men movie once a year and or
once
an
a year
Avengers
for,
movie,
yeah, once a year is plenty often. But if you don't have, but if you go 2 years without seeing
yeah,
any X-Men characters,
then I think it's just hard to follow, and especially if you're going to try and bring them together at some point. Like if you're having these different threads come together in the end
hmm
as like a larger saga, or part of they or
hmm
story arcs that just end up crossing over each other.
yeah,
Then it could be hard to do that. I think it's
I'm
great. I love it, but
mhm.
I
I'm going to push back a little bit. I think it's fairly easy to bring everybody together at the end. It's the idea of with when we see the Battle of New York the second, we're like, oh, the Ancient One is doing stuff off in her corner. So it's no longer a question of like, well, okay, why aren't these characters involved in a huge event in the end? It just becomes a, all right, they were dealing with their own things, but then something became so big that everybody had to deal with it. And I think that's a simple enough explanation that it works.
Yeah, it's not so much the ending where they come together. I think it's more about just keeping the audience involved in the th or remembering kind of where the thread is. So if you have the X-Men thread going and it's too sparsely um,
Yeah, well, I get what you're saying with that, and that's why I was kind of agreeing with you that you probably can't go
too
too
long.
too
Yeah.
long. It might be one of those things like say if you do an X-Men movie at the end or at the beginning of 2028, you could maybe I mean, X-Men's a special case. You gotta pepper those in more.
Hmm.
But I think like if you were to do an Avengers thing at the beginning of 2028, you could probably wait until the beginning of 2030 for the next one without it being too long, especially depending on what shows there are too and if
Yeah.
they matter.
Yeah.
But that's it for the general stuff. Minus there's one piece of comic news where we're getting a Marvel and DC crossover event, Batman and Deadpool. Assuming just fighting each other and Deadpool annoying Batman so much.
That is an interesting one. I
It,
when I saw that, I'm like, that it's actually a pretty good team up. So how does Batman? I don't
how
know.
does
I don't know.
how does
Very conflicting personalities for that one. So,
yeah, how does such a serious character in Batman deal with the least serious character in Deadpool?
hmm. Right.
Then we're going to jump to the Doomsday and Secret Wars news. I'm going to run through all of the news things and then we'll go back and talk about them. Sound good?
Yes, I might have to take some notes because I kind of lost track of how these all played out. I took some, but
All right.
okay.
First off, Doomsday and Secret Wars both have been pushed back 6 months. So December 2025 and December 2026. Also, it is rumored that Wong, Hulk, Captain Marvel, and Shang-Chi are going to be on Sam Wilson's Avengers team. Mabel Cadena is rumored to return as Namora. And a couple more here. Marvel is casting Ghost Rider for Doomsday, and currently Marvel's preferred choice is Ryan Gosling. And finally, the champions are going to be assembling in Doomsday, per the rumors. Should we just start off with the big one,
Yep, that's fine.
the delay?
Yes.
So I did a video on this, and my thoughts are this is basically a good thing because of how kind of late in the process, due to everything with Jonathan Majors, um, and that legal situation, how it changed to from Kang to Doom, and when they got Robert Downey Jr. in, and when they got the Russos on board, because that seems like that was almost up to Comic-Con last year. Like they were finishing and solidifying stuff, which is a year ago. It makes sense that it would be hard to get two massive movies, especially that they're shooting back to back, done in that time, plus all the special effects and everything. I think that's, to me, that's the best part is there aren't, CGI shouldn't be rushed.
Yeah, I agree. I still have like what tipped them over though, because I mean when they made these dates,
Hmm.
why not? I would think scheduling wise, they'd be able to be like, okay, this should work out if we're gonna try and fit this stuff in and this stuff.
My
So
guess is actors.
what threw it
My
off?
my guess is actors. They were not fully able to get everybody in quite as soon as they expected. Some people maybe had a conflict for some other event or something that they had to work around. Just even with the press circuit right now for Fantastic Four, you're having four characters from Doomsday who are having to do multiple different things, like CCPX Mexico was yesterday, and Pedro Pascal and the whole cast were there. And so I think it was that. Plus, some things just take longer to shoot than expected to get right, or some elements of the process just don't go as expected. This is the timeline was always, especially for Doomsday, was always the timeline of if everything goes perfectly, we can get it out in time. That's how tight it was going into it. And I think until they were confident that, all right, this is taking longer, something didn't go perfectly, then they moved it.
Do you think anything with Brand New Day and
No,
that script
no,
or that like Tom Holland's schedule? I know he kind of probably freed up earlier, but I I'm just wondering if something wasn't working, right? And if
I don't think so. I think like I said, this is a situation where everything needed to be perfect to hit that timeline. getting actors in, um, shoots. It like okay, yeah, Tom Holland's Odyssey stuff wrapped sooner, and so maybe it was. Oh well, we if we delay it a tiny bit now, we can add in an extra for like we can add in Spider-Man to these scenes. So it could be something like that. I don't think based off of what I understand on the process and timelines and everything like that. I don't think this is oh no, we realize something isn't working at all. We have to move it. It was always, if everything goes perfectly, we can hit it. And now they're just like, no, let's delay it and let's make it the best that we can instead of anything feeling rushed.
Okay. So they pulled some movies, some, I should say, some slots as well, right?
Yeah.
So we have a February 2026 movie pulled. We have a November 2026 movie taken out, and we have also a November 2027 movie slot removed.
hmm
So the removals, it just is that because of
Well,
maybe budget constraints in that time period and everything kind of like the shifting of resources?
shifting resources, like the 2026, November 2026, you're not going to have a November 2026 release with a December 2026 release. That's you're not going to stack two films that
Okay,
way.
that makes sure.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just, I guess, but they're not being shifted out.
They're
They're
not
just
being
being
shift
removed.
they're not being shifted out because they can always grab a future date, especially that far out.
Okay, I
There's no
suppose.
reason to
Mm,
reserve that yet. Everything for every studio is still in flux. It's not like we're looking at 2027 and or 2028, let's say, and being like, okay, well, James Gunn is releasing Superwoman and Lobo and something else on these days already. Nothing that's going to be released in 2028 has started production yet. So, yeah, it's a
yeah, that makes sense, I guess. They shouldn't, handcuff themselves to those dates that they don't need to. Just as you were saying earlier with the Feige, he doesn't have to do that anymore. So
mhm,
why paint yourself into that corner?
right. Especially when it's supposed to be a big kind of kickoff to everything new coming out.
Right.
Um, it it's get it right. And honestly, I don't mind having a big Marvel release at Christmas time.
Th that is kind of a ballsy thing. I mean, that's
So, No Way Home was released in December, and Star Wars for a few movies released them in December as well. And it's actually been doing pretty well, numbers wise, for some of those big movies.
Oh yeah, I would imagine it's a it's kind of prime time slot, I would say, like
hmm
when you have
Yeah,
kids and people
for
going,
family. Yeah,
yeah, sure. And it's just they've never really touched they haven't touched that a whole lot, that
right.
area. But
Except for No Way Home. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So that's great.
hmm
I think it
Yeah.
takes away my birthday gift because I have a birthday in November, so I'm a little bit, that feels so slight to me, a little bit slighted, but that's
Yeah,
fine,
I
I
was t
guess.
yeah, no, I wasn't
You
going to
pitched that
say
to
that it
them, didn't
was
you?
yeah, I was talking with Feige, like we have to get rid of these November slots. It's just I just constantly hear about it and it makes me not want to do the podcast anymore, really. No.
I just I have a real good way to just piss Greg off.
Yeah.
Let's take away his birthday present.
Yes. So, um the other stuff though in there, what did you think of Sam Wilson's team?
What? Wait, hold on. Let me get back to my notes. Your notes.
Yes. So Wong, Hulk, Captain Marvel, and Shang-Chi.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I feel
I
like
think it's pretty
Ant-Man would,
solid.
yeah. Obviously, we know Falcon should be on that,
Yes.
and Ant-Man seems like he could be. But I'm also wondering a little bit is does Ant-Man maybe become one of the mentor figures to the Champions team?
Hmm. You had a little father-daughter thing in there then,
Yeah.
but I feel like Captain Marvel's that better suited, but just because. she needs something to do. She
Mhm.
needs to. They need to have her stay grounded instead of shooting off into the
Well,
the
I mean,
galaxy. And
she was on Sam's Avengers team.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
I think that she needs a team more than Ant-Man needs a team.
So okay, wait. You're saying have Ant-Man do
Mentor.
the mentor of the champions,
Yes.
if that's what they're called,
Yep.
and then but Captain Marvel, Hulk, Wong, and I think
Shang-Chi.
it's Shang-Chi. I was thinking that maybe Captain Marvel would be the tie, like the ribbon that ties those two things together if they ever want to like
Mhm.
for that. I don't know, but I I don't know. I just don't know where Ant-Man ever fits. That's kind of my thing.
Right.
Like
Well, and that's why I think at this point in time, Ant-Man's character has somewhat run its course, like
kind of feels that
Scott
way.
Lang.
Yeah.
And that's why I think giving him that mentor role works because it gives him something specific to do, but it's not a major role.
Okay.
How about Ghost Rider and Ryan Gosling?
Mm. I don't hate it.
Hmm.
I we've heard this a little for a while now, right?
Yeah, yeah, and just popped up again.
Do you like him more for Ghost Rider or for Nova?
I still think I like him better as Nova,
Okay.
but
I I can I can picture the black leather jacket kind of thing,
mhm,
the look on him.
yeah, I think it
So
would could work well.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't hate it.
Like I said, I prefer Nova, but
Yeah.
it's not like I dislike Ghost Rider. It's just like if I had to pick between those two, I'd say Nova gets the slight advantage, not like
Yeah.
Ghost Rider. That's a waste of his talents.
Do you so I don't think this is a spoiler. I know that
Hmm.
there's been talk of an actor coming back as Ghost Rider
Hmm.
for upcoming project.
Hmm.
Um
That's just a
so
rumor, so we can
okay.
talk about it freely.
So Nicolas Cage, right? What are you excited to see him as Ghost Rider by chance? And do you want to
Not.
would you prefer they stick with him?
No, I give it to somebody else and yeah, go from there.
Yeah. I think he's too I don't know, he's too eccentric.
Yeah.
So anyways,
All right. On to the Fantastic Four first steps. I guess we covered the champions a little bit there. Do you have anything else you want to add into that or just move on because we still
nah,
have a lot of news to go?
yeah, let's keep going.
All right. First off, there was a new Fantastic Four tease game four of the Western Conference Finals.
Yep.
That there was a tiny tease for it. Not much new there in terms of footage.
Is that where we saw like the emblem on the street, which was a manhole cover looking thing?
Maybe.
Is that
I think
where
there was. I think there was that. There were the watches that they
yep.
had. There was. I think we saw Reed teaching kids a little bit more
Okay.
in that one. And that was about it new.
Yeah. Did so supposedly the manhole cover, or I think maybe it's just a street emblem,
Hmm.
I think is paying homage to their fight with Mole Man, I think is what I heard.
All right. Well, I'll talk about that a tiny
Oh, am
bit
I
more.
giving up a little? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Because
I didn't read it ahead. I didn't want to read it ahead.
let me just jump straight to that piece because it's CC uh, XP in Mexico. Joseph Quinn says Mole Man is in the film.
Right.
So I'm assuming they were like, okay, we've shown that now as a tease in the teaser trailer. We can say it, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Are we gonna
Um,
leave the rest of that? Go back. We'll come back to
yeah.
the Sue thing. Okay.
Yeah. Um, Let me run through two pieces and then we'll get back to the CCXP footage. 2 hour and 10-minute runtime. Tickets expected to go on sale on the 4th. And Kevin Feige in Empire Magazine article says the Fantastic Four will embrace the quote silly elements the 2000 films didn't. Um, and the full quote is in another time, some might consider the notion of Galactus with a big angular helmet walking through a city goofy. I consider it awesome.
So it's more of that comic book feel,
Yes.
I guess. Yeah. So
Yeah. And there's been some early screening stuff for it. Um, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because, in all fairness, some of that information, it's hard to tell with that information coming out, but people liked, from what it sounded like, Galactus in there.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. 2 hours and 10 minutes, good for you?
Never, never long enough for me, but I'll take
18
two.
hours.
I want 18 straight hours of Marvel. Just
Just the Fantastic
one
Four.
intermission, one intermission. Just the Fantastic Four. Oh no, I want
Just the
just
Fantastic Four. And when it hits 7 p.m., because you've been there for 18 hours, you get a 45-minute scene, no cuts, of them having dinner.
yeah, I'm all for it.
So,
All for it.
should we talk about then the CCXP footage? New footage at CCXP with Sue Storm going into labor on the Fantastic Four's spaceship, while the Silver Surfer chases after them, intent on capturing the newborn. Reed orders Ben to take them into a black hole.
Okay, so this is when I heard that, I'm thinking, is this the end of Thunderbolts? And do they go back through, or are they staying like?
Hmm.
'Cause, so this is kind of the thing I was wondering about. Is it kind of a part of when they're out there? Now, if she's in labor, that means they've already got their power, so that's not the thing. This is more they must be fleeing and trying
Yes.
to save themselves in a sense.
Right. Probably
So,
this is this is weird because it feels like it would be towards the end of the film.
right.
And it feels like, okay, this scene would be something where they realize, okay, Galactus and the Silver Surfer, they're after Franklin. They're after the unborn baby. So our solution to save Earth is we get off Earth and start running, and they'll follow us and we'll save Earth that way. So it's interesting because I'm trying to remember, do we see Sue in the scenes that are definitely seem to be implying that they're headed off into space to deal with Galactus? Do we see her in those scenes?
I mean, no, I don't remember seeing any scenes of that nature.
Oh,
What?
there's several scenes in the last trailer of the um them getting into their suits, them getting ready to go into space, Reed getting asked questions like, can you protect us or stuff like that, and going, I don't know.
Okay. I
Because
didn't see that new one. I didn't.
no, this is from the trailer, not the teaser. This is the trailer with the Silver Surfer.
Okay.
Greg's memory is going in his old age.
Oh my dear God. I don't remember it ever being in the sense. Well, I mean, I know they were,
They were
I
going
don't,
into space another time, and it was not the one where they got their powers.
sure. I guess I just didn't put together that they were, that, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I haven't watched it for a while. I saw it a long time ago.
That's fair. That's fair. Same. But I also did a video on it, so I had to I have to hold more of those details in my head for at least a little bit while I do that video, which means
Yeah.
they get stuck there a little longer.
I mean, I'm just seeing when Reed and Sue, like he's holding Sue and she's kind of like, looks like she's kind of phasing a little bit.
That's the first
That,
trailer.
right. So that's in my brain.
Hmm.
The thing
That
where
else,
Reed says, I don't know why we're having this
yeah.
conversation right now. It's basically just me having forgotten what I've seen and nobody cares. So let's move on.
All right, let's move on to the Vision show. And there's a number of actors rumored for this, and interesting characters that they are rumored for. First off, James Darcy, reportedly returning as Jarvis, followed up by Carrie Condon, playing the human form of Friday, Emily Hampshire, playing the human version of Edith, and Tanaya Miller, playing Jocasta.
So are these all like women he dated and then what did he kill him and then just put them as AIs? See, now we got those two directors guys coming into play and that's what they're gonna do. It's that
No, that the crew, that team for the Vision show is already set.
oh okay.
Yeah.
Um it's yeah, it's interesting. We have a lot of AI stuff going on, right?
Mhm. AI in human form too.
Is it
So
in human form? Or is it just that they're
every
doing the
single
voices for him?
every single rumor has specified in human form.
Huh. So I know one of them, whoever plays is it Edith, I think? She was in Schitt's Creek.
Okay. Carrie
Um
Condon, I think, did the voice for Friday,
yes. Yep.
and Tanaya Miller would be a new casting
Okay.
uh, with Jocasta because Jocasta has not been in the movie.
That the actor who plays Jocasta or who's going to play Jocasta, she was in Peripheral, I
Okay.
believe.
Hmm.
I don't remember what streaming service that was on. She was great in that.
Nice.
So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Mhm. So this
Um,
seems like
yeah.
it's going to be struggling with the idea, I guess, of what makes these synthezoids human or machine and how you kind of interact with that
It
in
seemed
terms.
more like a history or like getting to know who you were or like how you got to be who you are or finding out I guess it's a different vision, but he's it's like almost trying to fill in the
Yeah.
past, right, with these different AIs.
Mhm.
Ultron,
Yep.
Edith, Veronica
Friday.
in there.
No,
Is it
Friday.
no, Veronica is just a station up in yeah, that's a
Yep.
Hulkbuster suit.
Yep.
Um
And Jocasta. Yeah, I think it is kind of that how do you find out what you're capable of being again when you don't remember what you were before with Vision.
Yeah. And if these three are in human form, what relation do they have or had with Tony Stark?
So human form to me says synthezoid. It's like Vision is the human form of Jarvis, was
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah.
the Jarvis AI.
So there's other
So these, yeah, is it Vision is creating them in human form? Jocasta obviously has connections to Ultron. So did Ultron create more synthezoid bodies?
oh, that would be kind
S-
of interesting, right?
Yeah,
But I
something like that. But yeah, I don't know that I have a great idea for what the plot's going to be.
because is Jocasta and there's like a is it a love triangle or is like a
There's kind of a thing between Jocasta and Ultron before Jocasta eventually turns her back on Ultron.
so it seems like it he would be creating these things.
Hmm.
He kind of, I guess, has some sort of human feeling of compassion or love towards Jocasta, but he's got these other two that he's created as well. So maybe it's trying to free them. Maybe that's what Vision's doing. Like he's aware of them now. He's trying to, I don't know, free them,
Yeah.
understand them, learn from them.
I think
Uh,
learn from them. Maybe they're taking part, especially in the case of like Friday and Edith, if they've been human form for a little bit, maybe they're taking part in society and just a natural part of society that Vision never felt like he was. And so he's trying to learn how they managed to do that.
yeah, it definitely gets me a little more interested in what they're doing now. But we also have kids, right? There's
Potentially Viv and Vin.
right.
Yeah.
So, is it like a weird Terminator thing? Like Ultron's making these other ones coming after the kids? I don't know. That's totally crazy, and
Yeah.
I'm just like tossing that out there for fun. But
Hmm.
I don't know. So a lot of AI synthezoid
Yep.
kind of is where I'm feeling with this, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Have they done that in any other way?
So I did see in a comic somewhere that there's a comic, like an Iron Man comic, that maybe deals with a whole bunch of synthezoids. And there is the Visions comic book,
Yep.
which that really deals with how do you make people trust you and see you as human when they know that you're a machine?
Hmm.
And how does that kind of impact the family and others as well?
I mean,
So,
you understand that. People ask you that all the time, right?
yeah, I know. Cold and emotionless.
You're learning though. You'll get
Hmm.
there.
It really helps if you can grow a beard as a synthezoid.
Yeah,
People people kind of glance over it.
right. Lack a belly button, but got a beard. So
Hmm.
there you go. You'll get there one day, Petter.
Yeah. Just quickly for another one here, we have the Eternals. And the Eternals story will continue in the next saga. This one comes as a rumor from the Cosmic Circus. Thoughts?
Every time I don't know, I get kind of excited. I think it seems like there's some really fun things that can
Hmm.
happen with the Eternals, right? And
I think this is where you could go interesting cosmic, like high concept sci-fi sort of stuff and tie in some other, well, another rumor that will be coming up here can tie into that sort of thing.
okay. Yeah, because I mean, I feel like it has to tie in some. I mean, it doesn't have to, but having an Eternals movie be out there, kind of like distant from everything else that's happening, I think that's like suicide for them again. Because I don't. I think people want to have the Eternals mean something and have relevance and be interested. So
Yeah, but if you do a whole, if as we were talking about before, if you do a whole kind of cosmic arc and connected
sure,
story trail, then that gives you something. Because we did have the group of Eternals on the ship going out there looking for other Eternals, basically to free them from underneath the Celestials, correct? At the end?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So I
And
think
Tiamat
that.
is hanging out there in the ocean. They got to do something with it besides, I suppose, mine it for adamantium. But
Yeah, I think that's it. I honestly
it's
think
just
that they're not
it's
going
just going to
to.
be
Yeah, I think
straight
that's.
farming.
Yep, yep. We're gonna get a whole movie where it's basically Stardew Valley, just a farming sim, like a cozy farming sim movie, except they're farming adamantium.
Now that is one Marvel thing I may just not want 18 hours of.
36.
If there is, just give me double it up.
Yeah. Um, all right. How about X-Men? First off, Bryan Cranston being considered for Professor X rumor. This rumor had popped up before as well. Um, and then a rumor for three villains. Not just like, oh, it could be one of these three villains, but three villains in the first X-Men movie: Senator Kelly, Bolivar Trask, and Mr. Sinister.
Hmm.
So who do you want Ryan Gosling to play? Ghost
Um,
Rider, Nova, or Mr. Sinister?
ooh,
I still kind of want Henry Cavill as Mr. Sinister, though.
yeah, I know, right? He's lots of rumors of him popping up in different things too.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want him as Sinister. I think I'm pretty made up on that. I think I'm still for, oh man, I
Still
keep
for Ghost
picturing
Rider?
him. I think I'm still for Ghost Rider for
I
him.
think he could do real well as that. But
Nova's great too, but I
mhm,
just I don't know. Somehow I got this stamp
you're
in my
also,
brain
yeah,
of
you're also a whole lot more familiar with Ghost Rider as Denova.
yes. I mean, not by much, but yes, I it's
Yeah,
more familiar to me. So,
yeah,
but I'll maybe go see the Starfighter thing for Star Wars and think, hey, he should be on, more of an outer space kind of
yeah,
dude. So
yeah. But Bryan Cranston,
I don't mind it. I
it depends so much for me on what Bryan Cranston you get because he's great in some things, and then in other things it's just like, oh, that's too bad.
I guess I'm picturing also a younger actor to be in there.
Same. I would
So
prefer younger, and like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, 3
yeah,
weeks ago now, with the X-Men stuff. I want to have a chunk of time with Charles not in a wheelchair.
yeah. Give me a younger Charles.
Hmm. But then three villains. What do you think of that?
I'm kind of all for it. I think I don't mind it. I think you can play it right. You can
I think you can play it right. I think the good thing about like a Mr. Sinister is he can show up again as a villain. Same with Bolivar Trask and the Sentinels.
mhm.
Like you don't need them to be a major villain. You just need them to get to be the point where they're like, yeah, we're starting to build Sentinels
Yeah. And
now.
are we talking like we obviously don't know, but are we talking Sinister early, I guess? Well, it'd have to change his origin story because
Hmm.
he's old as dirt. So
Hmm.
so it'd be an older one, I'm assuming. So
But he
which is
doesn't
fine.
have to be old though because of kind of who he is as a
True.
character.
Yeah, yeah, he can. I'm not talking like physically old.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking like
like
it's got to have a history. Is he gonna be
mhm,
like sinister, or is he, is he gonna have that
gold
deathly white
or yeah,
face? Yeah,
the not gold but silver-ish
yeah.
look, silver and
With
black.
Are they gonna give him the spade or the diamond, on
hmm
the
Are we
forehead
going to
kind of
get
thing?
the cloned
Yeah,
versions so we have all four?
right. So I don't know. I think that's kind of fun. I
hmm
think you don't stick him at the front of the villain, like face, but
hmm
he's down, he's lurking, he's doing something.
Yeah, he's doing
So
something. He can even be the first villain or the main villain for this movie. You just don't truly defeat him. You stop whatever scheme he has.
yeah,
And then he goes away because he's such a good like henchman villain too, where you know that he's up to no good. He's probably working with whoever he thinks can help him the most do his no good, and then he'll eventually betray that person and have to deal with the consequences.
right.
But he's never like the huge bad guy. So like an apocalypse then makes a lot of sense for like an overarching villain.
Yeah. And Bolivar Trask. So
Trask and Kelly are very much on the
it's like the puppet, they're at the end of the puppet strings, I feel like, for this.
yeah,
Maybe
the end of the
unknowingly even. Like they don't quite understand
hmm
who's pulling the strings so much, but they're doing some dirty work.
yeah, they don't even understand that anybody is pulling the strings. They're just getting information. They're just getting fed the news of, ooh, mutants, dangerous. Mutants gonna be have trouble here, and they're buying into it.
Yeah. So good. I'm three villains. I'm good with
hmm
that.
All right, then Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Oh, yes, it is. So, first, to begin filming in late July, Bruce Banner will play a decent-sized role in Spider-Man 4. And then two conflicting rumors here. Scorpion, Tombstone, and Boomerang as villains for Brand New Day. Oh, yes, it is. Also reported male and female villains for the movie.
Mm.
So obviously those two don't jive completely. I do think like the character of Boomerang, if you wanted to make that a female villain,
Yeah.
sure.
I guess you could do any of them if you really wanted to,
Yeah, but
right?
Scorpion we've seen.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
If they continue, yeah.
mhm.
Um, a female tombstone, is that
It's doable. I think that there would be a fair number of complaints about that.
who would you pick for a female tombstone?
Um,
On the spot. Here we go.
on the spot, I mean, I don't think anywhere will work with her anywhere, but Gina Carano.
Eppolito? I'm just kidding.
Gina Carano, the former MMA fighter, she played
Oh,
Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, would be a physical enough presence for it. Um, I'm trying to think who else could do it.
um, Ashley Romans for me. I'm pulling her back in. I think I had
Okay.
her as Storm originally when we did some
Yeah,
X-Men stuff. Um, yeah.
I'm wondering too, maybe Taraji P. Henson as well. She was in Hidden Figures, Empire, The Color Purple, the 2010 Karate Kid.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the same line as your
Yeah.
thought there. So
I,
it's
what are three villains again? That's kind of similar to what they did for No Way
Spider-Man 3.
Home. Yeah.
No Way Home had more.
True. So, I mean, it's like multiple, right?
Mhm.
Multiple kind of big ones, fairly big
Kind
ones.
of.
Boomerang's kind of
Yeah, Boomerang.
sub, but
I think for a lot of people, Tombstone is a fairly unknown. We know Tombstone because
your friendly
of
neighborhood Spider-Man.
yep. So Scorpion would be the big one for most people there. I like the idea of those three villains because again, they're very grounded villains,
Yeah.
which yeah, makes me think that the intention for Spider-Man Brand New Day, oh yes it is to keep it grounded and not to have heavy tie-ins to anything like Doomsday. Even if it had been in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think it would have been an Ant-Man and Wasp style thing where Spider-Man is mainly doing his own thing and then the events of Doomsday start or a big moment of Doomsday occurs at the end of the movie. And so we have an understanding of like, okay, that's why Spider-Man wasn't involved in everything,
Yeah.
which I'm cool with that. I don't need Spider-Man in Doomsday. Secret Wars? Sure. Doomsday? No.
That's two different. Now we've said okay to multiple villains twice now, which I feel like we're changing a tune. I feel like you had asked us that in other movies prior to this. I don't know. I feel like
Well,
we're switching sides on this, but and that's not bad. It just normally we I don't know if we'd be for that.
well, and I think as we were talking about it, especially we didn't dive too much into like with Spider-Man here how it could work, but with X-Men, it was okay, maybe we have Sinister more having his main scheme that they're stopping, but we're building up to other villains in Senator Kelly and Trask. And here, I think with this list, like Boomerang and Tombstone, or Boomerang and I mean, you can just pick one of the villains and be like, that's our main villain. But if Tombstone runs a gang or Scorpion runs a gang, why not have Boomerang underneath one of them as a villain? They don't have to be three separate villains. If Spider-Man's dealing with Scorpion's gang, having a turf war with Tombstone's gang, that's two.
That's
That's what
that's
we had, but
that's the plot though for
yeah. But that was more, I'm using that more as an example of how you could have multiple villains without it feeling like you have too many villains because
yeah. Okay.
the villains are facing off against each other as much as they're facing off against Spider-Man.
All right. All right.
Um, on to Punisher. Punisher is looking to cast a female crime boss.
So not Vanessa.
So not Vanessa. Um, Madam Hydra.
Hmm.
That'd be interesting.
I know, but Hydra, I well, just that Hydra's still around because I mean that is like a whole different
Yeah.
arc.
Madam Mask.
I have no idea who that is.
All right. Here we
Here we
go,
go.
Greg. Here we go. Madam Mask, Whitney Frost. Paranoid mastermind who hides her face. After learning her father was in fact the terrifying Count Nefaria, Frost inherited his position as the Magia leader, interested in stealing technology from Stark Industries. So, yeah, that's a crime boss character.
Why don't they just bring in like Shang-Chi's sister and Madripoor? I don't know. It feels like Punisher could do some damage over there.
Uh, yeah, that's true.
Or like
If
Lady Deathstrike. Ooh,
mhm.
Lady Deathstrike would be cool.
I kind of like the idea of Shang-Chi's sister. If you were to basically at the end of Daredevil Born Again season two, Punisher knows that he can't hang around New York anymore, and so he has to get out. So he goes to clean up whatever's happening in Madripoor, whether that's Shang-Chi's sister or the Power Broker. Just wrap
It's
up that loose ends, have him
yeah.
kill off Sharon Carter.
I just yeah, just take her out. Like first 5 minutes of the show, just take her out and then move on to uh Shang-Chi's sister. Um
Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, there's definitely some other crime boss villains out there, but those are some of the big ones, or the big one I mentioned there. Um,
Typhoid Mary. That I like that one.
yeah,
Black Cat.
but she doesn't. Oh, I don't think. Well, no, I will say just flat out no to that.
Okay.
Black Cat is Spider-Man character. They would have to
Yeah,
get that from
right.
Sony.
Right.
I do like, I think Madame Mask could be interesting. Viper, even if you don't want to have Viper
Well, it is Serpent
immediately.
Society, right?
No,
So
Viper is not Serpent Society. Viper is, she becomes Madame Hydra and she works with Hydra. But if you just want to use the character Viper and eventually do Hydra stuff, you could have her as a street boss first for something like a Punisher.
sure. I yeah. I don't, I wish they would just continue on with the police issue. And
Well, they're going to do that. That's Daredevil Born Again, though.
right, but I don't know. Okay.
It does feel like yes, it's set up for Punisher spin-off in some ways to deal with that, or Punisher special presentation to deal with that more than Daredevil Born Again, or at least him
Right.
dealing with it in his own way.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to deal with it in his own way, and maybe you're right that he'll then head out of New York City post Daredevil Born Again and take on some other people elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like he's too extreme to really for whoever takes over after Fisk to let him to not hunt him down. It's not they're not anti-vigilante. It's just like Punisher, you went too far again.
Okay. Again.
So yeah, I could see something like that.
All right.
Annihilators. I can't remember if we talked about the movie potentially happening for that before or not,
Yeah, I think we did.
but Silver Surfer and Star-Lord to be in it.
Sounds
Uh,
fun.
yeah. And this again is where I think you could do something cosmic. Part of that bigger cosmic event or yeah,
So
tie some.
do you play to the strength of Chris Pratt and his comedy there? Like, is it gonna be that style? Is it gonna have, I mean, just Silver Surfer seems pretty kind of, very
Yeah. Well, and we don't know that
monotone.
it's going to be Shia LaBeouf, Silver
No, that's
Surfer.
fair. Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, a Silver Surfer is basically you play it as a Drax type character.
Good.
So
Yeah,
that
it's a weird
works.
shift, but
Yeah.
help Galactus eat planets, and now I'm comic relief.
Well, yeah, but if
Sure,
it's,
I
but
guess it, whatever. I
yeah,
mean, Gunn can
yeah,
pull it off with,
yeah. Drax is
right,
not a,
right.
yeah, the comics is a very dark, violent character.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, I think there's that. I think there's also just you don't even need to play him as you don't need to play as much comedy with Star-Lord as James Gunn did.
yeah.
I think it's easy enough to be like, okay, now after he's struck off on his own and he's seeing like how the humanity is and how Earth is, maybe he it is something that gets pulled back on a little bit. Um, Black Panther 3, this rumor I put out as a very, very rumory rumor, for February 2028. The most impressive thing about this rumor is that this rumor came out after I did my X-Men 10-year plan, and I had Black Panther 3 as my earlier of the two movies in 2028.
Well done.
Yep. So you could do like a February 2028 and a July 2028 with those two movies, and I would have nailed it.
So that's after Secret Wars.
Yes. That I expect that very much at this point. I think we're getting one movie in between Secret Wars and Doomsday, and it'll be Doctor Strange.
We shall see. But I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying
Yeah.
we shall see.
We should, yeah.
Um, Man, that's a long ways out for Black Panther 3, especially I think there's a script that's already started. And I'm sure it can be
Yes
reworked,
and
but
no.
it
Yeah.
it just seems like they want to use Ryan Coogler 'cause he's kind of on the hot train right now. Like people
Mhm.
want him.
But
I would put
he wants to do this though too. Like
it's
he
3 years from now over that.
Yeah,
So
3 years from now for the movie to come out, if it's a February 2028 release, that's filming and starting filming end of next year. That's not
okay,
that far.
that makes sense. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Um,
And the next year, beginning of the year, but
I think I just really want the iconic scene of Black Panther
yeah.
seeing.
But you do that in Doomsday.
Oh, sure, you could still shoot that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's nothing that says that, but in fact, that scene doesn't occur in a Black Panther comic.
it's a
That
Fantastic Four comic, isn't it? No,
Avengers.
it's Avengers. Okay,
Yep. So it's like, okay, yeah, just do that for Avengers Doomsday, please.
yeah.
Please, please,
Okay, then
please
I'll
do
be
that.
happy. That's
Yeah.
fine.
The final rumor is Doctor Strange 3, and I also did a video on this one, but Doctor Strange 3 having the subtitle In the Incursions of Insanity.
I It's very Doctor Strange-esque
Hmm.
title. I don't know. I'm not ecstatic about that.
I like it as an idea, especially with that title, though. Keep him out of Doomsday, I say. Don't put him in there since he hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah.
Make this a separate thing where he is trying to stop incursions with Clea. And the idea of this insanity being that they can actually stop them. Like they can figure out ways to stop them, but new incursions are fa popping up faster than they can stop them. So he's trying to save everything and everyone, but kind of with his the doctory side of things. You lean
Hmm.
into that he's doing it to save people, but he can't. It is going too fast. It is going, there's nothing that he can do to fully save it.
The title itself is, I mean, Incursions Insanity. I think it's just really for I for incursions, right? I for
Yeah.
insanity. So it's fine. It's
Hmm.
kind of a mouthful, and
I mean, so is Multiverse of Madness.
I know, but I feel like it's just easier. That's pretty easy to say. It rolls off the
Eh,
tongue a little better than
Incursions of
Incursions of
Insanity.
Insanity. Multiverse of Madness. I kind of do like
That's
do lip and vocal exercises if I'm going to do Incursions of Insanity.
I think it's just as easy. I think we've just I remember when they announced Multiverse of Madness and I was doing the podcast, I was like, that's just a mouthful to say. We're just very used to saying Multiverse of Madness now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you though. I think that they should keep that in their lane, keep him
Hmm.
doing the incursion thing and keep him out of Doomsday.
Hmm.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good way to like really hammer home kind of multiverses dying and
Yeah, just
stuff
keep
like
it
that.
in. It just needs to stay in its own like lane.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
if you blend it across two different movies, it just
Yes.
I feel like it loses a little bit. So just
Hmm.
house it in
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And then you do the tie-in at the end
Right.
where Doom basically comes to Strange and says, I've seen what you're doing and how you're trying to save everything. It's not possible.
Hmm.
You know it's not possible. I know it's not possible, but I can offer you a job. I can offer you a chance to help me save what we can.
Right.
And Strange, after having lost so much in that movie, is like, agrees. Maybe doesn't fully trust Doom or what Doom's doing has done, but it's like, at this point in time, there's nothing else to do. I can figure out another solution, something more later.
Hmm. Yeah, right. It's what happens in Secret Wars, right? Just
Hmm.
he gives in, but he gives in reluctantly, but he's just waiting for his moment, kind of thing,
Hmm.
which he doesn't quite know when that is going to be, and he doesn't feel like he has any other cards to play at that point. So you just kind of go with the best effort and wait
Hmm.
for your time. So is that good? Is it good that they mimic the comic that much? I don't know. I think it's a nice tie-in. It's something like
Hmm.
why it's kind of a why not? It's
Hmm. Well, and I think they can do it in a very different way because I don't think we're going to have the that
Black
weird,
Order.
yeah, Black Order of monks who all say one letter.
Yeah. Oh,
Or,
most pain, so
yeah,
painful.
yep,
I think it'd be a painful scene to watch or to
yeah,
make, but
yeah. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do something very different, but to have Strange kind of end up in that spot, I think is
yeah.
cool.
Although I could having like Thor or something like that, just like be like, are you serious? Like they just say a word at a time, or
Hmm.
like I don't know. It opens up for some jokes, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, it does. But that's one of those things where I'm like, that's a step too far for a movie.
Yeah.
Like that's something that you need a whole season of something to play out.
Yeah, yeah, you need to explain it. Just don't, yeah,
Mhm,
leave it out.
yeah. So that's
We
all
made it.
the news and rumors. Yeah. Now on to the main topic. No.
So I only got like a little bit of battery power left, so we gotta
Yep.
make the main topic real quick.
Yeah.
No, that
And who's the synthezoid here?
yeah,
The person who's running out of battery?
right. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot
Hmm.
that we interesting 2 weeks we decided to take off there. So
Hmm. Yeah, they gave us a whole bunch
or
of
a week.
stuff.
There's a week technically, but
2
yeah.
weeks, 2 full weeks of news.
Yes, 2 full weeks of news, 1 week off. We
Yes,
didn't do the podcast 1 week, so
yes.
um,
We
yeah,
will be back then again next week. Let us know which one of these rumors interests or excites you the most. Drop that down in the comments over on the podcast on YouTube, or uh, on Facebook or X using hashtag 10MinMarvel. We thank you all for listening. We really do appreciate this, and everybody who listens. If you enjoy the content of this podcast, Greg gave a few ways you can help support us at the beginning. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/nerdologists. The funds go to help improve the quality of this podcast, as well as the Molson People's YouTube channel, the 10 Minute Marvel YouTube channel, and the nerdologist.com website. But with that, we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Bam.